Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. This time we're tackling the complicated world of arthritis with the help of an episode of the Joint Talk podcast.
Oh, great choice.
Yeah, they had so much interesting stuff to say. I figured we could dive right in.
Sounds good to me.
I was really surprised to learn that there's like over 100 different types of arthritis out there.
It's really amazing.
Yeah, like I knew there were different types, but over 100. Wild. But for our deep dive today, we're going to focus on the two big ones that we hear about all the time, osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah, those are definitely the most common ones that people come across.
Right. And so by the end of this, I'm hoping that we can all tell the difference between the two, spot the symptoms, and even bust some of those common myths that float around.
Sounds like a plan.
Awesome. Okay, so first things first, can we just define what arthritis is? Because I think a lot of us just think, oh, my joints hurt, it must be arthritis.
Right, and it's actually not quite that straightforward.
Okay, so break it down for us.
Well, it's not really a single disease. It's more like an umbrella term for all these different conditions that affect the joints.
Okay, so my grandma's always complaining about her creaky bones. Is that real or just her getting older?
Well, there's some truth to the wear and tear that comes with age, but it's definitely more nuanced than that.
Okay, so what are we talking about here? What are some of these conditions?
So osteoarthritis, that's often called the wear and tear arthritis because it's literally about the cartilage in our joints breaking down over time.
Okay, I remember they used a car engine analogy in the podcast.
Right, exactly. Think of your joints as this well-oiled engine.
Okay, I follow.
And the cartilage is like the oil that keeps everything running smoothly.
Okay.
But over time, that oil can break down and then you start to get friction as the bones rub together.
Ouch, that sounds painful.
It can be, yeah, and it leads to stiffness too.
So is that just something that happens as we get older, or what are the other risk factors here?
Age is definitely a factor, but it's not the whole story.
Okay.
Genetics plays a role too.
So if your parents had it, you're more likely to get it.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
And past injuries can contribute as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you've had a serious knee injury, for example, that can make you more susceptible to osteoarthritis in that knee later on.
Interesting.
And even repetitive stress from certain jobs or activities like running can increase your risk.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And this might surprise you, but being overweight is actually a major risk factor for osteoarthritis.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't have thought of that. But yeah, it makes sense. The extra weight puts more stress on the joints.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not just about age. It's a whole bunch of things combined.
Right. It's all connected.
So if someone's listening, they're like, okay, my knees hurt after I go for a run, and they're a little stiff in the morning, and sometimes I hear this grinding sound. Is that a sign of osteoarthritis?
Those are definitely some classic signs, yeah.
Okay, so pain after activity, morning stiffness, and that grinding sensation.
Yep. And with osteoarthritis, the morning stiffness usually goes away within about 30 minutes.
Okay, good to know.
Which is different from rheumatoid arthritis, where the stiffness can last much longer.
Okay, so that's a key difference to look out for.
Exactly.
So let's talk about rheumatoid arthritis then, because you mentioned it's different.
Right, it is, and it's actually an autoimmune disease.
Okay, so refresh my memory. What does that mean again?
So basically, it means your immune system, which is supposed to protect your body from foreign invaders like bacteria and viruses.
Right.
Well, it mistakenly attacks your own healthy tissues.
Oh, so it's like friendly fire.
Exactly. And in the case of rheumatoid arthritis, it attacks the lining of your joints.
Oh, wow.
Which leads to inflammation, pain, and eventually it can cause damage to the joint itself.
So instead of wear and tear, it's like an internal attack.
That's a good way to put it.
And this is the one that affects women more, right?
Yeah, it's actually 3 times more common in women than men.
Wow, that's a huge difference. Why is that?
It's not totally clear, but hormones and genetics seem to play a big role.
Okay, so it's one of those mysteries of the body.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, given the potential for damage, like you said, early diagnosis must be really important with rheumatoid arthritis.
Absolutely. Catching it early and skirting treatment can make a huge difference in preventing long-term joint damage and maintaining mobility.
So let's talk about treatment then. What are some of the approaches for managing osteoarthritis?
Well, the first thing to know is that there's no cure for osteoarthritis.
Okay, so it's about managing the symptoms.
Exactly. The goal is to slow down the progression, manage the pain, and improve mobility.
Okay, so what does that look like practically?
Well, one of the best things you can do is low-impact exercise like swimming or walking.
Really? I would have thought that would make the wear and tear worse.
It's actually the opposite. By strengthening the muscles around the joint, you're actually supporting it and reducing stress.
Oh, that makes sense.
So movement is key, but it's got to be the right kind of movement.
Gotcha. So no marathons for people with osteoarthritis?
Probably not the best idea.
Okay, low-impact exercise. What else?
Physical therapy can be really helpful too.
In what way?
Well, a physical therapist can teach you exercises and techniques to improve your range of motion and flexibility.
Okay, so it's like tailored to your specific needs.
Exactly.
And we talked about weight being a risk factor, so I'm guessing maintaining a healthy weight is important too.
Absolutely. Losing even a small amount of weight can significantly reduce stress on your joints.
Okay, so movement, physical therapy, weight management. What about pain relief?
Your doctor might recommend over-the-counter pain relievers like ibuprofen or acetaminophen.
Okay, the usual suspects.
Right, but they may also suggest prescription medications or even joint injections to reduce inflammation and provide more targeted pain relief.
So it really depends on the severity and individual needs.
Exactly. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Makes sense. So with osteoarthritis, it's all about managing the symptoms and slowing down the progression. What about rheumatoid arthritis? How do you treat an overactive immune system?
Well, that's where things get a bit more complex. Doctors often prescribe a class of medications called DMARDs.
DMARDs.
It stands for disease-modifying anti-rheumatic drugs.
Okay, so not just your average painkiller.
No, these actually work by suppressing the immune system's attack on the joints.
Wow, so they're trying to calm down the immune system.
Exactly. There are different types of DMARDs. Some are older medications like methotrexate, while others are newer biologics.
Okay, I remember the podcast mentioned biologics, but can you break that down a bit? What are they?
So biologics are genetically engineered proteins that target very specific parts of the immune system involved in the inflammatory process.
So they're like more targeted than traditional DMARDs.
Exactly. For example, one type of biologic called a TNF inhibitor blocks the action of a protein called tumor necrosis factor,
Okay,
which plays a key role in inflammation.
so it's like a sniper taking out the bad guy.
Kind of, yeah. It's a much more targeted approach.
That's pretty amazing. So you get these powerful medications, but I'm guessing lifestyle modifications are still important for managing rheumatoid arthritis.
Absolutely. Things like regular exercise, healthy diet, stress management techniques.
The usual suspects.
Exactly. All of these can contribute to better symptom control and overall well-being.
I do have a question, though. Isn't some level of inflammation necessary for healing? Like, how do DMARDs and biologics differentiate between good and bad inflammation?
That's a great question, and it's one of the ongoing challenges in treating autoimmune diseases.
Yeah.
Well, while some inflammation is necessary for the body to heal in RA, the immune response is like way out of control,
Okay.
causing more harm than good.
Right.
So these medications, they aim to dampen that excessive damaging inflammation while still allowing the body's natural healing processes to continue.
So it's about finding that balance.
Exactly.
Now, we've been talking a lot about osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis, but you mentioned earlier that there are over 100 types of arthritis.
That's right.
So are there any other interesting ones that you can tell us about just to give us a sense of the variety?
Absolutely. There's one called ankylosing spondylitis.
Okay, that's a mouthful.
It is. It's an inflammatory arthritis that mainly affects the spine.
Okay, so unlike osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis, which can affect various joints, this one's specific to the spine.
Yes, and it causes inflammation in the joints between the vertebrae, which can lead to stiffness and pain.
Oh, I bet.
And in severe cases, the inflammation can actually cause the vertebrae to fuse together.
Wow, that sounds really serious.
It can be, yeah, and it often develops in younger adults.
Oh, wow, so it's not just an old person thing.
Not at all. And unlike RA, it's more common in men than women.
Interesting, so there are all these variations.
Exactly. Each type has its own unique characteristics and challenges.
Okay, so myth-busting time, because I've always heard that cracking your knuckles causes arthritis. Is that true?
Definitely a myth.
Really?
That cracking sound is just gas bubbles being released in the joint fluid.
So all those years of my mom yelling at me to stop cracking my knuckles were for nothing.
Well, it might still be annoying to others,
Yeah, that's fair.
but it's not going to give you arthritis.
That's good to know.
Yeah, your knuckles are safe.
All right, I'm relieved to hear that. So I think it's time to move on to the most important part, which is how to live well with arthritis. Because I imagine a diagnosis can be pretty daunting.
It can be, yeah, but it's important to remember that arthritis is manageable.
Okay, that's good to hear.
With the right knowledge, tools, and support, people can lead active and fulfilling lives.
That's a great message to start with.
Right, because it's not a death sentence.
Absolutely. So let's dive into that then. What are some of the keys to living well with arthritis?
Well, the Joint Talk episode we're looking at today had some great insights on this.
Yeah, I was really interested in what they had to say about lifestyle changes.
Right, they really emphasize things like regular movement, a healthy diet, and stress management.
Yeah, and I think that could be surprising for some people because when we think about wear and tear, we might assume rest is best.
It's counterintuitive, but staying active is actually crucial for both osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis.
Okay, so tell me more about that.
The key is finding activities that strengthen the muscles, supporting the joints without putting excessive stress on them.
So what kind of activities are we talking about?
Things like swimming, yoga, tai chi.
Okay, so low-impact stuff.
Exactly. High-impact activities like running or jumping can actually make things worse.
Gotcha. So it's about finding that balance.
Exactly. And these low-impact exercises, they help improve flexibility, reduce stiffness, and increase range of motion.
Okay, so all good things.
Right. And it doesn't have to be hours at the gym. Even short bursts of activity throughout the day can make a difference.
So like taking the stairs instead of the elevator.
Exactly. Or walking or biking to work if possible.
Okay, those are good tips.
And if you have a desk job, make sure to get up and move around every hour.
Yeah, that's important for everyone, not just people with arthritis.
Absolutely. These small changes can add up over time.
So movement is key. What about diet? Is there a specific arthritis diet that people should follow?
There's no magic bullet, but a balanced and nutritious diet plays a huge role in managing inflammation and supporting overall health.
Okay, so what does that look like in practice?
Well, focusing on anti-inflammatory foods can make a big difference.
Okay, so give me some examples. What are these anti-inflammatory powerhouses?
Fatty fish like salmon are great.
Oh, yeah, salmon's delicious.
It is, and it's packed with omega-3 fatty acids, which have been shown to reduce inflammation.
Okay, good to know.
Leafy greens, berries, nuts, those are all great choices too.
Okay, so lots of fruits and veggies.
Exactly. They're full of antioxidants, which help protect cells from damage caused by inflammation.
So it's not just about avoiding certain foods, but actively incorporating those that fight inflammation.
That's the idea. And we can't forget about stress management.
Right, stress always seems to make things worse.
It does. Chronic stress can actually increase inflammation in the body.
Oh, wow. So it's a real physical thing.
It is, and it can definitely make arthritis symptoms worse.
So what are some good stress management techniques for people with arthritis?
There are lots of effective techniques out there. Some people find relief through deep breathing exercises or meditation.
Okay.
Others benefit from spending time in nature or pursuing creative outlets.
So it's about finding what works for you.
Exactly. There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Speaking of feeling good, I remember the podcast mentioned laughter therapy as a potential tool for pain management.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Laughter is more than just a mood booster.
Oh, really?
It actually triggers the release of endorphins, which have natural pain-relieving effects.
That's amazing. So it's not just about distracting yourself from the pain.
No, it's actually using laughter to modulate your body's response to it.
Wow, that's fascinating. So are there like specific types of laughter therapy, or is it just about watching a funny movie or hanging out with friends who make you laugh?
Well, there are actually organized laughter therapy groups and classes.
Really?
Yeah, they use specific techniques to stimulate laughter.
Like what?
It could involve silly exercises, playful interactions, or even just faking laughter until it becomes real.
That's wild. It makes you realize there are so many creative approaches to managing pain and improving quality of life.
Absolutely. And it highlights the powerful connection between our mental and physical well-being.
For sure. So we talked about movement, diet, stress management, laughter therapy. What else is important for living well with arthritis?
Well, it's important to remember that managing arthritis goes beyond just the physical symptoms.
Okay.
It's also about addressing the emotional and social challenges that can come with living with a chronic condition.
That's a good point. What are some of those challenges?
Well, one common challenge is feeling isolated or alone in dealing with the condition.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So connecting with others who understand what you're going through can be incredibly helpful.
So like support groups, online forums, things like that.
Exactly. It's about building a support system, whether it's online in your community or within your own circle of loved ones.
Right, because everyone needs someone to talk to.
Absolutely. And there are also resources available to help people navigate the practical aspects of living with arthritis.
Like what?
Occupational therapists can provide strategies for modifying daily tasks, and physical therapists can teach exercises and techniques to improve mobility.
Okay, so it's really about creating a holistic approach to managing arthritis, addressing not just the physical symptoms, but also the emotional, social, and practical aspects.
Exactly. It's about empowering people to live full and meaningful lives despite the challenges.
I love that. This has been incredibly insightful. We've gone from understanding the different types of arthritis to exploring the nuances of living well with the condition.
It's a complex topic, but hopefully we've shed some light on it.
I think I do have one final burning question. The podcast mentioned there's no cure for arthritis. Is that still the case? Are there any promising research avenues or potential breakthroughs on the horizon?
That's a question a lot of researchers are working tirelessly to answer.
Yeah.
While there's no cure yet for most types of arthritis, there's ongoing research into new treatments and potential cures.
Okay, so there's hope for the future.
Absolutely. The field of arthritis research is constantly evolving, and with each new discovery, we move closer to finding better treatments and hopefully a cure.
That's encouraging to hear.
Some of the most promising areas include stem cell therapy, gene therapy, and personalized medicine.
Okay, I'm not familiar with those. Can you explain a bit more?
Sure. So stem cell therapy involves using stem cells to repair damaged cartilage and reduce inflammation.
Okay, so it's like using the body's own healing power.
Exactly. And then gene therapy aims to modify genes that contribute to the development of arthritis.
Wow, so it's like getting to the root of the problem.
Right. And then personalized medicine involves tailoring treatments to an individual's specific genetic makeup and disease characteristics.
So it's like a custom-made treatment plan.
Exactly. It takes into account all the individual factors that might influence how a person responds to treatment.
That's amazing. So while there's no cure today, there's a lot of exciting research happening.
Absolutely. And there's reason to be optimistic about the future.
I have to admit, I started this deep dive feeling a bit apprehensive about delving into the world of arthritis,
Yeah, it can be a heavy topic.
but I'm leaving feeling informed and, dare I say, even a bit optimistic.
I'm glad to hear that. Knowledge is power, and the more we understand about arthritis, the better equipped we are to manage it and advocate for our health.
This episode has been packed with valuable information, and I'm sure our listeners are eager to learn more.
I hope so.
So before we wrap up, what are some resources people can explore to continue their journey of understanding and managing arthritis?
There are some excellent resources available for reliable information and support. I recommend checking out the Arthritis Foundation,
Okay.
the National Institutes of Health, and the American College of Rheumatology.
Okay, those sound like great places to start.
They offer a wealth of information on different types of arthritis treatment options, lifestyle tips, support groups, community resources, all sorts of things.
That's fantastic. I encourage our listeners to check them out.
I hope they do.
And as we bring this part of our deep dive to a close, what's one final thought-provoking question you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Given what you've learned about arthritis today, its different forms, causes, and the multifaceted approaches to managing it, what steps, big or small, can you take to prioritize your joint health and overall well-being?
That's a powerful question, and it really gets to the heart of what this deep dive has been all about.
It's a reminder that we have the power to take control of our health, even in the face of challenges like arthritis.
I love that. It's a message of empowerment.
Exactly. Whether it's incorporating more movement into your day, making conscious food choices, managing stress effectively, or simply paying attention to your body signals, every step counts.
So true. This deep dive has been a journey of discovery, and I hope our listeners feel empowered to continue exploring the world of arthritis and advocating for their health.
I couldn't agree more. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. There's a wealth of resources and a supportive community out there ready to help you navigate the path ahead.
That's a comforting thought. And with that, we'll wrap up part 1 of our deep dive into arthritis. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve even deeper into the world of joint health and explore practical strategies for living well with arthritis.
It's a journey for sure, but it's one we can take together.
I like that. So before we move on from that last question about potential cures for arthritis,
Yeah.
are there any specific things that listeners should look out for or be aware of, like any red flags when it comes to arthritis treatments?
That's a great question, and it's important to be cautious because, unfortunately, there are a lot of scams and misleading claims out there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, especially online.
What kind of things should we watch out for?
Well, be wary of any product or treatment that promises a quick fix or a miracle cure.
Okay, that makes sense. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Exactly, and be skeptical of testimonials or anecdotal evidence.
Right, because one person's experience doesn't necessarily mean it will work for everyone.
Exactly, and always do your research. Look for evidence-based information from reputable sources like the Arthritis Foundation or the National Institutes of Health.
Okay, good advice.
And don't be afraid to ask your doctor questions about any treatment you're considering.
Yeah, your doctor should be your go-to source for reliable information.
Absolutely, they can help you separate fact from fiction and make informed decisions about your health.
So let's get back to those lifestyle changes we were talking about.
Sounds good.
We talked about movement and diet. What about sleep? Does sleep play a role in managing arthritis?
It absolutely does. Getting enough sleep is crucial for everyone, but it's especially important for people with arthritis.
Why is that?
Well, when you're sleep deprived, your body produces more of the stress hormone cortisol,
Okay.
and cortisol can actually increase inflammation in the body.
Oh, so it's like a double whammy.
Exactly. So getting enough sleep can help manage pain and inflammation.
So how much sleep should people with arthritis aim for?
Most adults need around 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep per night.
Okay, so the usual recommendation.
Right, but it's important to listen to your body and get the amount of sleep that you need to feel rested and refreshed.
Good advice.
And there are some things you can do to improve your sleep quality.
Like what?
Well, establishing a regular sleep schedule is key.
Okay, so going to bed and waking up around the same time each day.
Exactly. And creating a relaxing bedtime routine can help signal to your body that it's time to wind down.
So like taking a warm bath, reading a book, listening to calming music.
Exactly. And make sure your bedroom is dark, quiet, and cool.
Okay, so creating the ideal sleep environment.
Exactly. And avoid caffeine and alcohol before bed.
Right, those can interfere with sleep.
They can, and if you have trouble sleeping, talk to your doctor.
Yeah, they might be able to suggest some other strategies.
Right. There are medications and therapies that can help with sleep problems.
Okay, good to know. So we've talked about movement, diet, sleep, stress management, all these lifestyle changes that can help manage arthritis.
Yeah.
Are there any other, like, unexpected or surprising things that can make a difference?
There are actually. One thing that often gets overlooked is the power of touch.
Touch?
Yeah, things like massage, acupuncture, even just holding hands with a loved one.
Okay.
These can actually help reduce pain and stress.
Really? How does that work?
Well, touch releases endorphins, which are those feel-good chemicals in the brain.
Okay.
And endorphins have natural pain-relieving effects.
Interesting. So it's like another way to tap into the body's own healing power.
Exactly. And it's also a way to feel more connected and supported.
Yeah, that's so important when you're dealing with a chronic condition.
It is. And there's also some evidence that spending time in nature can be beneficial for people with arthritis.
Really? Like going for a walk in the park or something?
Exactly. Being in nature has been shown to reduce stress, improve mood, and even boost the immune system.
Wow. So there are all these natural ways to support our health.
There are, and they can be really powerful when combined with conventional medical treatments.
This has been so eye-opening. I feel like I'm learning so much about how to take a holistic approach to managing arthritis.
That's great to hear. It's really about addressing all aspects of well-being, the physical, emotional, social, and even the spiritual.
I love that perspective. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what's one key takeaway you want listeners to remember?
I would say the most important thing is that you are not alone.
That's a great message.
There are millions of people living with arthritis, and there are resources and support systems available to help you.
Right. You don't have to go through this alone.
Exactly. And remember, there is hope. Research is constantly advancing, and new treatments are being developed all the time.
That's encouraging to hear.
It is. And in the meantime, there are so many things you can do to manage your condition and live a full and active life.
So it's about taking control of your health.
Exactly. And advocating for yourself.
I love that. This has been so inspiring and empowering.
I'm glad to hear that.
Stay tuned for part 3 of our deep dive, where we'll continue to explore the world of arthritis and answer your questions. We're back with part 3 of our arthritis deep dive. And I think a lot of people are going to want to hear more about that idea of advocating for yourself, because that can be tough sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely can, but it's so important.
Okay, so where do you even begin? Like, how can people become better advocates for their own health, especially when it comes to something like arthritis?
Well, the first step is to educate yourself.
Okay, so like we're doing right now, learning as much as we can about the condition.
Exactly. The more you know about arthritis, the better equipped you'll be to make informed decisions about your treatment and care.
So read books, articles, reputable websites like you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask your doctor questions.
Right. Your doctor should be your partner in this.
Absolutely. They're there to help you understand your options and make choices that are right for you.
Okay, what else?
Well, communication is key.
Okay, so like what? Being open and honest with your doctor.
Exactly. Tell them about your symptoms, how they're impacting your life, what your goals are.
Right, because they can't read your mind.
Exactly. And don't be shy about advocating for yourself. If you feel like your concerns aren't being addressed or you're not getting the care you need, speak up.
Yeah, that can be tough for some people, but it's so important to be your own best advocate.
It is. And remember, you're not alone.
Right. There are support groups, online communities, even friends and family who can lend an ear and offer encouragement.
Exactly. And there are organizations like the Arthritis Foundation that provide resources and support.
Okay, so educate yourself, communicate effectively, build a support system.
Exactly. Those are the key ingredients for becoming a strong advocate for your own health.
This has been such a valuable conversation. I feel like I've learned so much about arthritis and how to manage it.
Me too. It's been great to break down these complex topics and share some practical tips and resources.
So as we wrap up this final part of our deep dive, what's one final message you want to leave our listeners with?
Remember that you are stronger than you think.
I love that.
Living with arthritis can be challenging, but it doesn't have to define you.
Right, it's just one part of your story.
Exactly. And with the right knowledge, support, and self-care, you can live a full and meaningful life.
Absolutely. This deep dive has been a journey of discovery and empowerment, And we hope our listeners feel the same way.
I hope so too.
Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration of arthritis. We've covered a lot of ground, from understanding the different types to exploring the latest treatments to discovering practical strategies for managing the condition.
It's been a pleasure to be here.
We hope you found this deep dive informative and inspiring. And as always, we encourage you to continue learning and exploring.
Knowledge is power.
Exactly. And with that, we'll wrap up this edition of the Deep Dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep those joints happy and healthy.